All right, today we're diving into the mind of a true master, architect Stephen Harris. We're going to unpack his 5 non-negotiables for designing a home. A home that doesn't just look good, but, actually feels right.
So what is it? What really transforms a house into a home? It's a question we've all probably thought about, right? And listen, it's not about the expensive furniture or the latest trendy colors. The answer, as we're about to find out, goes so much deeper.
Well, according to the man himself, Stephen Harris, it all comes down to 5 absolutely non-negotiable considerations. And these aren't just, a list of design rules. No, this is a whole philosophy for how we should think about the spaces we live in every single day. So yeah, let's dive into his masterclass.
Okay, so here's what's on deck. We're going to cover the art of arrival, how inside meets outside, movement as an experience, designing for daily life, and this last one is huge, scale over size.
All right, first up, the art of arrival. Now, Harris says that the journey you take just to get to your front door is one of the most crucial and honestly most overlooked parts of home design. Think about it. It's that psychological shift from the public world to your own private sanctuary.
And the core idea here is it's fascinating. Harris was actually inspired by a thesis on psychoanalysis and the very concept of arrival. He believes that entry shouldn't be this abrupt moment, where one second you're outside and the next you're inside. No, it should be a gradual, layered sequence, a way to sort of unwind as you move from the public world into your private one.
This example from one of his projects just lays it out perfectly. He creates a whole journey. So first, you turn off the main road. Then you climb the driveway and you arrive in a courtyard that, well, it doesn't give much away. It's all about building that anticipation. Harris even calls it a tease. It's a way of pulling you forward so that when the final view is revealed inside, wow, the payoff is just so much bigger.
And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of it all. See, for Harris, a building isn't just some static object you just look at. It's a dynamic force. It's supposed to guide you, to pull you through it, and make you experience the space by moving through it.
Okay, let's move on to the second non-negotiable, which builds right on top of this idea. It's all about weaving the home and the landscape together, basically erasing that hard line between what's inside and what's outside.
So how do you actually do that? Well, they do a few things. They extend the garden way out into the landscape, almost blurring where the property ends. They literally plan the house around the sun's path to get the best natural light. They create these outdoor rooms where people can gather. And they even shape the land itself, using contours and berms to create depth and intimacy. The whole goal is to make your property feel like your own little private park.
All right, principle number 3, movement as experience. Now, this is definitely related to that art of arrival we talked about, but now we're focusing on what happens inside the house. The idea is that getting from one room to another shouldn't just be about getting there fast, it should feel like a carefully planned journey.
And Harris makes a really important distinction here. Most homes are designed for what he calls expedience. Think of a long, boring hallway that's just a straight shot from A to B. Functional, but that's it. What he pushes for is experience, a path where you're always moving through an interesting room to get to the next one. That way you have zero dead space.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Getting from the bedroom to the kitchen is less about expedience than it is about experience. The simple daily paths you take through your home are actually huge design opportunities. When you get rid of hallways and make the journey part of the fun, you naturally end up using and enjoying your entire house, not just camping out in 1 or 2 rooms. And his practical method for planning this is just brilliant. He calls it the two-handed method. Okay, so with one hand, you literally chart out your day. Where do you actually spend your time? Then, with the other hand, you analyze the site to find where the best light is. And the goal? It's so simple. Put the rooms you use the most in the spots that get the best light. I mean, it's so logical, but you'd be surprised how often it's completely ignored. And that leads us perfectly into principle number 4, designing for your actual daily life. This is all about getting really honest about your real habits and your real needs, not designing a home for some fantasy version of yourself that doesn't exist.
So I'll ask you, what's on your personal wish list? For example, Harris's husband is a painter, so he needed a proper studio. Harris himself is a car fanatic, so he needed a dedicated garage. The point is to really think about the process of your day-to-day and design spaces that actually genuinely support your life and your hobbies.
And this means we have to challenge some pretty outdated ideas. You know the one,
The formal dining room that sits there, perfect and unused for 363 days a year. Harris really pushes us to make every space multifunctional. Why not make that dining room a library where you can also work or have your morning coffee? It's all about making sure every single room is a place you actually live in.
And that brings us to our fifth and final principle. And this one might be the most important of all: scale over size. This gets into the really critical difference between a space just being big and a space feeling right.
Okay, let's get really clear about what this means. Size? That's just a number. It's square footage. But scale? Scale is all about proportion. It's how a room feels in relation to you, to the human body. You can have a gigantic room with bad scale that feels cold and empty, but a much smaller room with perfect scale can feel incredibly generous and intimate.
Now check this out, because this flips a common idea completely on its head. So many people think a massive primary bedroom is the ultimate sign of luxury, right? But Harris makes an amazing point. You're asleep for most of the time you're in there. You spend way more waking hours in your dressing room and your bathroom. So the design reality is that making those spaces generous and well-proportioned adds way more value to your actual daily life.
And really, this is the bottom line. If you don't get the proportions right, if you don't nail the scale, then all the fancy, expensive materials in the entire world aren't going to save it. The space just won't feel right. Period.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the 5 non-negotiables. Number 1, the staged arrival. 2, weave the inside with the outside. 3, make movement and experience. 4, design for your real life. And number 5, always prioritize scale, not just size.
You know, at the end of the day, as Harris says himself, these things are about so much more than just architecture. These principles, they aren't just about building a nicer-looking house. They're about fundamentally rethinking and improving how we live our lives at home. It's a blueprint for living well.